Injustice doesn't always wear a badge, but in Oakwood County, Georgia, it practically had a uniform, and that morning, my family and I found out just how ugly that uniform could get. We were just three regular folks, me, my wife Tasha, and our 17-year-old son Malik, stopping for breakfast at a small-town diner on the way home from a weekend at my Aunt Martha's, expecting nothing more than coffee, biscuits, and a peaceful drive south. The sun was golden on the highway, my wife double-checking our bags, Malik cracking jokes about my Navy stories, all of us in that easy family groove. If you've ever had one of those mornings where you think you're in the clear, you know exactly what I mean. But the thing about Oakwood is, it reminds you real quick, sometimes with a look, sometimes with a word, sometimes with a boot in the ribs, who you are and where you don't belong. From the minute we walked into that old diner, my place, blue trim peelings, Confederate flag hung proud behind the mugs, I could feel the room stiffen. Red vinyl booths, worn linoleum, and a chorus of low voices that dropped to a hush as soon as we stepped inside. The waitress, Betty, barely met our eyes when she led us to a booth. My son was tense, jaw set, but I just gave him that look. Let it roll off your back. Son, the one I learned the hard way, in every small town from Texas to the Carolinas. We ordered coffee and tried to ignore the stares. Tasha kept the conversation going. Hash browns, science fairs, Malik's college apps, doing her best to pretend it was just another Sunday. But you can't pretend the temperature in a room. Not when you've lived your whole life learning how to read IT. IT was halfway through the meal when the real trouble walked in. Heavy boots, the distinct creak of a utility belt. Officer Mallister, with his badge shining and that slow, hungry smile. He made his rounds, greeting locals by name, and eventually sauntered over to our table. Just keeping an eye on things, he said, but there was nothing casual about it. The whole place went silent, forks hovering midair. Malik shrank a little, Tasha straightened, and I kept my eyes steady. Mallister started in with the questions, where we were from, what we were doing, the kind of friendly, means trouble. Then he claimed there'd been an incident at a gas station, said Malik fit the description. No evidence, no details, just that pointed, you people suspicion dressed up as routine police work. Now, I've spent years training to stay calm in the worst situations, combat zones, hostage standoffs, you name it. But nothing gets my blood boiling like seeing my family targeted. Mallister demanded Malik's ID, then told him to stand up for a safety check. Tasha protested, God, I love that woman, but he barked her down. Before we could process what was happening, Mallister grabbed Malik's arm, fingers digging in hard. That's when every instinct I had from the SEALs kicked in. You know that moment when you realize you've been pushed just a little too far? Yeah, that happened. I moved before I thought, smooth, no wasted motion. One hand on his wrist, enough pressure to make him let go. The other caught his gun hand before it reached the holster. I twisted him down gently, no violence, just control. The diner gasped, phones came out, and for the first time, Mallister looked uncertain. This is assault on a police officer, he spat. No, sir, I said, voice steady, not giving him an inch. This is a father protecting his son from unlawful harassment. That's when things spiraled. The siren screamed outside, backup pouring in. Mallister was red-faced and shaking, but something had fallen from my pocket, a wallet, Navy SEAL badge, service ribbons glinting in the sunlight. An old-timer read out the credentials. The room turned, whisper swirling, decorated veteran, Silver Star, SEAL. Mallister's jaw dropped. Suddenly, he wasn't so tough. But power hates to lose, and when the sheriff rolled up, Dale Cotton himself, all boots and authority, it got real ugly, real fast. He ordered the diner cleared, had me cuffed, ignored every protest from my wife and son. Told his men to take me off-grid to a substation with no cameras, no records, nothing. Tasha and Malik were thrown out on the street, their credit cards suddenly not working, motel managers suddenly all booked. Doors closed in their faces everywhere. They were cut off, no help, no lawyer, no answers. But Oakwood wasn't as silent as the sheriff thought. Enter Jada Freeman, local cafe owner, survivor, witness. She'd seen it all, had 3 years' worth of dirt on Cotton's crew. She took in my family, shared evidence, and together, with my cousin Marcus, civil rights lawyer in Atlanta, they launched the kind of fight this county wasn't ready for. Jada uploaded the video of Mallister's abuse. Social media exploded, thousands sharing, hashtags trending, news outlets calling. The truth was out, and the world was watching. Back in that cell, I stayed calm, mapped out the jail routines, spotted friendly faces among the guards. One slipped me a note: "Don't give up. The feds are watching." Meanwhile, the sheriff and his goons tried to break me: threats, isolation, plans to move me before the FBI could intervene. But I learned to wait for my moment. When they tried to move me, I played sick, dropped to the floor. My guard ally hit the emergency override, unlocked the wing. Alarms blared, the feds stormed in, and suddenly it was Sheriff Cotton and Malister facing the cuffs, not me. The news blew up, me in my dress blues, testifying to the world, announcing a federal lawsuit for civil rights violations. Not just for me, but for every voice silenced by Oakwood's good old boys. My son Malik found his own courage. After surviving a beating by the sheriff's son and his friends, he stood tall at his school, leading workshops on self-defense and civil rights. Tasha spoke on national TV, her voice fierce and clear. We didn't come this far to be silent. And that town? Oakwood changed, slow and stubborn but real. New police force, murals of heroes on cafe walls, black and white kids learning together. The old guard faded, the hate sputtered out, and in its place, hope. We bought a house on the street where black families were once unwelcome. Malik left for Stanford on a scholarship, his future wide open. We turned pain into purpose, building programs so no kid would ever face what he did. Was it worth it? Hell yes. We didn't just survive, we made them see us. Justice, I learned, isn't something you beg for. You take it back, inch by inch, soul by soul, day by day. And let me tell you, after all we've been through, we're just getting started. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in our place? Do you think real change is possible, or does the system always win? Drop your thoughts below, because the conversation and the fight are far from over. You ever think winning means the war is over? That the headlines fade and justice, whatever shape it took, just plants roots and grows? I used to for a while. The morning after we settled in the new house, sunlight spilling through clean windows, birds singing like they never knew a thing about hate, I wanted to believe it. Malik was already at Stanford, sending back photos of campus protests and 3D printed robotics projects. Tasha was leading community forums, folks of every color packed in the church basement, learning how to file grievances, how to use their voices. For a heartbeat, Oakwood County felt almost healed, cautious, hopeful, maybe even proud. But deep wounds don't close just because the cameras left town. It started small. One night, the mailbox was ripped off its post. The next week, a dead possum thrown on our driveway. The local paper ran anonymous op-eds about outside agitators and ruined traditions. Tasha found a noose made of shoelaces on her school desk, subtle, silent, unmistakable. I told myself it was just the last gasps of old anger, that people needed time, but you could feel the tension lurking, like a snake coiled under porch steps. Even the new police chief, a black woman, tough as iron, found her tires slashed, her welcome banners torn down. I took to sitting on our porch in the evenings, mug of coffee in hand, watching dusk settle over a street that still had more for sale signs than children playing outside. Some neighbors nodded politely, some looked away, shoulders tight. But one evening, I noticed a car parked down the block, engine idling, lights off. Same car, 3 nights running. On the 4th, it followed me to the grocery store, hung back while I loaded up on eggs and bread. Paranoia? Maybe. But a lifetime of reading danger says otherwise. Malik called one Friday night, voice buzzing with excitement and something else, a tremor I didn't like. "Dad, you seen the news? They're running a segment on us again, valor and voice. You guys look like heroes." He paused. "But I've been getting messages, trolls, threats, DMs calling me every name in the book." I tried to sound calm. "Stay smart, son. Block, report, focus on what you're building. It's not me I'm worried about," he said quietly. "It's home. You and Mom." He hesitated, then admitted, "A guy in my dorm said his uncle used to work for Cotton. Says those men aren't done." I felt that old tension tightening my chest. Let me worry about home. You keep being you. But the threats weren't just words anymore. One night, Jada's cafe caught fire, a brick through the window, gasoline on the kitchen floor. Only a quick-thinking neighbor and a faulty lighter kept it from burning to the ground. Jada brushed it off, determined as ever, but I could see the wear in her eyes. I knew the cost, she told me, hands steady as she scrubbed smoke from the walls. But I'll be damned if I let them scare me out. That's the thing about survivors. We don't run. A month later, the federal trial of Sheriff Cotton and Mallister opened in Atlanta. Tasha and I sat in the front row, flanked by reporters, veterans, and other families who'd been silent victims. Malik flew home, missed 3 midterms just to be there. On the stand, I told the truth, every detail, every humiliation, every moment I wanted to swing first and ask questions later. The prosecution played the diner video again and again, frame by frame, exposing every lie. The defense tried to smear me, aggressive military training, prone to violence, but I kept my answers calm, detailed, professional. When Jada took the stand and told her story, half the courtroom was in tears, but the twist no one saw coming, well, that's life, isn't it? As the verdict neared, an anonymous envelope landed in our mailbox. Blurry photos of Malik on campus, one of Tasha at the supermarket, me leaving the courthouse. A note, just 6 words, written in shaky block letters, some roots run deeper than justice. My blood ran cold, but I didn't tell Tasha or Malik. I tightened security at the house, checked doors and windows twice each night, and kept my pistol loaded but out of sight. It's a heavy thing. Living with the knowledge that a system's fall doesn't mean every rotten branch has snapped. The jury convicted Cotton and Mallister guilty on all counts. The whole town seemed to breathe out at once, but that night, my phone rang at 2 a.m. A young deputy, voice trembling. "Chief Samuels, you need to come. There's been an incident. Jada's Cafe, again." This time the windows were smashed, hateful words spray-painted in red across the new mural. The officers caught 2 men fleeing, both with old ties to Cotton's crew. They confessed, blaming outsiders, and ruined lives. By dawn, the story was everywhere. Some folks rallied to help, scrubbing graffiti, boarding up windows. Others said maybe it was time to let things settle, to stop stirring up old ghosts. In the swirl of news vans and National Guard patrols, I found myself on that porch again, staring at the sunrise, asking what victory really means. Justice had come down like a hammer, but forgiveness? Change? That's a longer war, and nobody gives you medals for patience. Later that week, Malik spoke at a packed community center, his first speech since the trial. He told the kids, "What happened to my family, what's happening to all of us, didn't start with one sheriff, and it won't end with one verdict. Real change isn't a news story. It's every day, every little choice you make to do better, to stand up, to stay." People clapped. Some wiped away tears, but a few slipped out quietly. Too much truth, too soon. That night, sitting around our kitchen table, Tasha asked, "Are we really safe here, Darius? Or are we just less at risk?" I didn't have a good answer. I poured her a glass of sweet tea, squeezed her hand, and said the only thing that felt honest: "We're seen now. They can't pretend anymore." That's the first step. She smiled, tired but proud. Maybe that's enough for today. Oakwood's still a town divided, murals and scars side by side. Some nights, I hear cars slow rolling past, see shadows moving a little too carefully. But I also see new faces at Jada's, kids laughing together in the street, a black police chief training a multiracial force. Malik calls home every Sunday, never missing a week. His voice is stronger now, hopeful, determined, more man than boy. We're building something, slow as spring grass, and maybe that's all any family can do. So, you tell me, how do you measure justice? Is it in courtroom victories, in changed hearts, or just in the stubborn, everyday act of holding your ground and refusing to be erased? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe, because this fight, like every real story, doesn't end when the credits roll. It just changes shape, and maybe, if we're lucky, it changes us too.